Welcome everyone. This is Eagle News. I am EJ Gonzalez in Washington. It's Saturday, April 22, 2023, here in the nation's capital. The week's recap begins with United Nations Chief Antonio Guterres encouraging the world to learn from indigenous peoples, from creating peace to sustainability and prosperity. Rosel Feria reports.
In New York, the 22nd session of the UN Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues commences. In his remarks, UN Chief Antonio Guterres says around the world, millions of indigenous peoples are losing their lands, their rights, and their resources. Guterres says indigenous peoples make up around 5% of the world's population, but 15% of the world's poorest. He says indigenous women suffer the most. The UN chief says he salutes indigenous movements across the world, often led by women and young people, for spearheading efforts to protect nature and preserve biodiversity. He says although indigenous peoples have done nothing to cause the climate crisis, they often face the worst and most immediate impacts. At the same time, indigenous peoples hold many of the solutions to the climate crisis and are guardians of the world's biodiversity. Guterres says his message is clear. The United Nations stand with indigenous peoples in working towards peace, sustainability, and prosperity for all. Rosel Feria, Washington, D.C., Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
In other news, gun violence continues to be a major problem here in the United States. With the latest grim statistic on mass shootings in America, here's Philip Toledo.
According to the Gun Violence Archive, the U.S. recorded its highest number of mass shootings in a single day so far for 2023. 7 mass shootings were reported last Saturday, April 15. Among them was the shooting in Alabama, where 4 were killed when a gunman opened fire during a Sweet 16 birthday party. 32 were also injured during the tragedy. That same day, reports of mass shootings came in from California, New Jersey, Hawaii, Arizona, and Kentucky. In all, 10 died, 55 injured as a result of the 7 mass shootings. The mass shooting in Alabama marked the 160th for the U.S. for this year. Philip Toledo, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
In related news, 2 Texas cheerleaders were shot in a grocery store parking lot after entering the wrong car. Jane Kathleen Gregorio tells us more.
Heather Roth says she entered into what she believed was her vehicle and opened the door. She found Pedro Tello Rodriguez sitting inside. Upon realizing her mistake, she exited the car. Rodriguez, however, pulled out a gun and opened fire on the cheerleaders. One cheerleader, Peyton Washington, sustained serious injuries and was transported to hospital. Rodriguez was arrested and is charged with deadly conduct. In recent days, a black teenager was shot in Missouri after ringing the wrong doorbell. In New York State, a young woman was shot after showing up at an incorrect address. Jane Kathleen Gregorio, Eagle News, Corpus Christi, Texas. We live in extraordinary times.
In other news, U.S. President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill have released their 2022 federal income tax return. The same with Vice President Kamala Harris and her husband. Arlene Ocampo reports.
President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill filed their income tax return jointly. They reported federal adjusted gross income of $579,514. They paid $169,820 in combined federal, Delaware, and Virginia income taxes. The first couple's 2022 effective federal income tax rate is 23.8%. The Bidens also reported contributions of $20,180 to 20 different charities, the largest of which was $5,000 to the Beau Biden Foundation, a charity aimed at protecting children from abuse. Meanwhile, the Vice President and the Second Gentleman also released their 2022 federal and state income tax return. The Harrises reported federal adjusted gross income of $456,918. They paid $93,570 in federal income tax with a tax rate of 20.5%. They contributed $23,000 to charity in 2022. With this release, President Biden has shared a total of 25 years of tax returns with the American public, while the Vice President has published 19 years of tax returns. Arlene Ocampo, Washington, D.C., Eagle News, we live in extraordinary times.
Meanwhile, the states of Pennsylvania and New Jersey are collaborating on putting together a task force to ensure enforcement of labor laws. Myla Simbulan reports.
New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy and Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro visited the International Union of Painters and Allied Trades, or IUPAT, District Council 21 training facility in Philadelphia. They toured the Innovative Center and announced their intention to form an interstate task force to address wage theft and worker misclassification in the two states. The Interstate Task Force will work to better foster the collaborative enforcement of each state's labor laws while enabling healthy business competition between good actors. These laws include robust worker protections. New Jersey and Pennsylvania entered a regional memorandum of understanding agreement in 2019 to facilitate data sharing, joint investigations, and cooperative referrals. While this is currently a partnership between New Jersey and Pennsylvania, the governors hope surrounding states will join them in their efforts to strengthen enforcement actions against labor violations. Myla Simbulan, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
Now let's head over to Canada, where a plan to give Toronto's Ontario Place a major makeover raises questions. Critics say some of the new features only cater to the rich. Yolanda Aspiras tells us more.
If you've been to downtown Toronto, you must have seen Ontario Place, an eye-catching piece of architecture which features a huge half-globe sitting by the waterfront, famous as a venue for summer activities, live music, and festivals. This week, the province of Ontario has announced major renovations to this 52-year-old tourist attraction, and which some consider a heritage place. Premier Doug Ford announced Tuesday that this government-owned attraction will now feature more all-year-round activities, concerts, and events. In addition, Ontario Place will now be the new home of the Ontario Science Centre. A new amphitheatre will also be built to hold concerts all year long, not just during the summer. The province also pledged to creating more green space within Ontario Place. According to the announcement, moving the Ontario Science Centre will free up space to create more housing, which has called to question other reasons for this redevelopment, especially that a new billion-dollar Ontario line is currently being built to bring people directly to the current location of the Ontario Science Centre. Liberals also question the additional features of the Ontario Place, such as a spa, wave pool, and restaurants, services that only wealthier people can afford. Yolanda Aspiras, Toronto, Ontario. Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
Now, several stories from Thomas Likeness today. From a robot performing surgery in Spain, to the first crocodile park in Dubai, to a museum of fake art in Vienna. All these and more on Correspondent at Large.
And now news and commentary from around the globe. What is happening in the United States? I'm talking about the number of trivial shootings in the past 10 days, some of them fatal. A quick review. 4 dead after gunfire broke out at a Sweet 16 birthday party. Happened in a small town in Alabama last weekend. More than a dozen wounded, some of them critically. And that same evening in upstate New York, a car with 3 people in it made a wrong turn down a driveway. When the driver realized his mistake, he tried to turn the vehicle around. The homeowner just stood on his porch, fired a couple of shots, killing a 20-year-old woman who was a passenger in the car. A few days before that, in Kansas City, a 16-year-old boy went to the wrong address. He was to pick up his younger siblings. After the lad rang the doorbell, the homeowner shot him. Miraculously, he survived. This past Tuesday, in Austin, Texas, 2 cheerleaders suffered gunshot wounds, one seriously injured. This after one of them had mistakenly tried to get into the wrong car in a supermarket parking lot. A man in the passenger seat pulled out a gun and started shooting. And the latest, but probably not the last, in North Carolina, a 6-year-old girl and her parents shot by a man enraged to turn the vehicle around after a basketball. The homeowner just rolled into his yard. These are all shootings for trivial reasons. Delivery people say things like this scares them. What if the DoorDash person rings the wrong doorbell? While all of this was happening, the National Rifle Association held its annual meeting and gun show in Indianapolis last weekend. A number of politicians made it a point to drop by, express their support for the gun lobby and, of course, grovel for votes. Meanwhile, the gun violence continues, along with the availability of weapons and ammunition. Do you think these two things are related? A worldwide medical first in Spain, a patient has received a double lung transplant in a procedure done by robotic surgery. What makes this procedure unique is that it's minimally invasive. Now, traditionally, for a procedure like a lung transplant, a heart transplant, surgeons cracked the chest, cut through the ribs, and left the patient with a 30-centimeter scar from the incision. And the healing from this is long and painful. Now, this animation you see here on the screen illustrates the procedure. Small cuts are made on the side of the rib cage to accommodate the robotic arms and cameras. Then, a small incision is made under the rib cage. The diseased lung is removed, and its replacement is slowly inserted into place. The incision is only about 8 centimeters. Healing is quicker, and it is almost painless since surgeons didn't have to saw through any bones. In Dubai, the city has opened its first crocodile park. The park will house 250 Nile crocodiles. That's one of the largest species of the semi-aquatic reptiles. Crocodile specialist Mark Janswana says the park is dedicated to education, awareness, and knowledge about crocs. He says it will be open to students who want to study the animals. And let me tell you about a museum dedicated to fakes and forgeries. This is the Museum of Art Fakes. It's located in Vienna, and it pays homage to people who spent their lives and careers forging the works of famous painters from Monet to Picasso. As well as viewing the forged works, visitors can learn about the fascinating stories behind these counterfeiters. Things like why they started. Were their motives revenge against the system or maybe just a way to climb out of poverty? There are also stories of how some forgers left hidden clues in the paintings and how some of them were themselves deceived. There is nothing fake here, though, so join me again in 7 days. Until then, I wish you all peace, joy, and happiness in the ensuing week. Thomas I. Likeness, Correspondent at Large, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
The Veterans Affairs Department and the National Institutes of Health begin a 5-year study on the chronic symptoms of Gulf War illness. Gulf War illness is estimated to affect 175,000 to 250,000 veterans of the nearly 700,000 troops who were deployed to the Gulf War. Here's Carlo Valdez on Health is Wealth.
Gulf War illness is a cluster of medically unexplained chronic symptoms affecting Gulf War veterans. Symptoms include fatigue, headaches, joint pain, indigestion, insomnia, dizziness, respiratory disorders, and memory problems. The disease affects about a third of the nearly 700,000 men and women who served in the Persian Gulf during Operations Desert Shield and Desert Storm. A research expert at the Veterans Affairs says effective treatments for Gulf War illness have remained elusive. This has forced healthcare providers to mostly just focus on easing patient symptoms. Through the study, VA and NIH's collaborations will bring together experts to investigate the underlying causes of Gulf War illness symptoms. Volunteers of the study are 1990 to 1991 era Gulf War veterans. They will be screened through the Miami VA Medical Center and the California and Washington, D.C. sites of VA's War-Related Illness and Injury Study Center. Carlo Valdez, Union, New Jersey. Eagle News, we live in extraordinary times.
The Gulf War theater of operations took place from 1990 to 1991. The Environmental Protection Agency launches an online resource to help eliminate heavy metal exposure, especially in children. We have Jeff Sanidad on Down to Earth.
Children and those who are pregnant are especially vulnerable to the health risk posed by exposure to heavy metals in certain products. This exposure, more often than not, leads to long-term health risk. The Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, recently published an online guide to help stop heavy metal exposures, especially in children. The EPA says some cultural products can contain heavy metals such as lead, mercury, arsenic, and cadmium. This includes cosmetics, religious powders, spices, traditional medicine, and cookware. The EPA warns that exposure to contaminants such as lead can cause reduced IQ, learning difficulties, and behavior issues like hyperactivity and inability to pay attention. These effects may not be immediately visible because they manifest later in life. The Heavy Metals in Cultural Products online resources identifies outreach materials designed to teach the public about how to identify and reduce exposure from these hazardous products. For more information, visit EPA.gov. Jeff Sanidad, Washington, D.C., Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
A suburb in Papua New Guinea will soon be getting a makeover. This in an effort to transform it into a safe, clean, and healthy place, especially for the youth. Echo Hortaleza Quinola tells us more on Oceania at a Glance.
It has become susceptible to dangerous and sometimes unlawful activities. Today, the National Capital District announces its plans to transform Boroko to a sports and recreational precinct in the capital city. Businessmen, corporations, business owners, and contractors, or the so-called stakeholders, were invited at the City Hall to voice out their insights. City Manager Ravu Frank says that contributions in making Boroko safe, clean, and a healthy place will align with the Urban Development Plan 2030.
It's in the best interest of the businesses within Boroko and also us as the municipal authority to work together and to deliver a safe, clean, planned, and healthy CBD. So basically that's the outcome from the governor, the chairman of NCDC, and the board for the management to deliver that. It's challenging, and so therefore we'd like the participation and the support of the business houses.
Among the transformations that will take place are landscaping, repainting, providing employment to the youth, better place for craft markets, well-lit streets, and the vision of the governor to make this area green.
We have mobilized everybody, all the government agencies, NGOs, and importantly the corporates who, Boroko is their home. And I believe they've been looking forward to this. So it will be a big event on the 22nd of May. It's part of the overall, transformation of Boroko. We're starting with the CBD, but we'll go out. So everybody can look forward to a great Boroko, part of our process to transforming our city, hub by hub, or precinct by precinct, or street by street. Yeah.
Echo Hartaleza Quinola, Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
Today is Earth Day, and today people from various walks of life share with us their simple but very meaningful ideas on how to help take care of the environment. Here's Marjorie Quintos with the report.
This April 22, as the world celebrates the 53rd anniversary of Earth Day, we hear from viewers across North America about ways they plan to take action in caring for our planet. Let's take a look.
I remember celebrating Earth Day in 1971 when I was in high school. Earth Day and Grow Local South Texas go hand in hand because we're protecting the environment. We do all natural gardening. All these vendors here are all natural gardeners. They don't use chemicals. They're not transporting their produce or their anything that they're selling here for long distances. Our mission is to educate, to have access, and to advocate for nutritionally dense foods that are going to create a healthy community.
And my effort to help reduce waste for Earth is just cutting down on water.
Earth Day is a good reminder of the value of our planet. Recycling, using energy-efficient light bulbs, keeping my car tuned up, taking unused items to places like Goodwill, and maybe even learn some new things about how to sustain the planet.
So for Earth Day, I'd like to remind people that we only have one planet. I like to think of fighting climate change as something that needs to be handled holistically, collectively. Organizing with other people within your community.
I don't like litter and stuff like that. I try to recycle as much as I can. So, not specifically on Earth Day, but every day. I brought a tote bag, and that's one thing I've been trying to move towards, less plastic.
We need to be responsible for the resources that we have. Creating plastics and unneeded waste is actually more harmful to our Earth and the resources that we have.
So this Earth Day, I collect bottle caps. I was doing it for a college project. You recycle bottles and stuff, and you can turn them into fairy lights, and that's just how you keep plastic out of your beaches and stuff. So that's a way I'm gonna celebrate decorating everybody's rooms with cute little recyclable fairy lights. I think that's awesome.
I feel like we should celebrate Earth Day every day.
Love your planet. It loves you too.
And appreciate it.
Exactly.
For more ideas, visit earthday.org. Marjorie Quintos, Eagle News, Montreal, Canada. We live in extraordinary times.
When not competing in the exciting world of professional golf, players of the LPGA putter around in a variety of leisurely activities like painting, playing ping pong, or just watching TV. In Palos Verdes, California, Eva and Alan on EBC Sports International.
We all know that the women of the LPGA can really swing a mean golf stick.
But what other hobbies or interests are they up to when not on the putting green?
Oh, I really love to watch the Korean baseball. So I'm supporting the SSG team. So yeah, that is my hobby. And then, do you know Running Man? The TV show in Korea? I really love to watch that too. So that is my one of stressful as.
Played instruments since I was 8 years old. So I play the drums and guitar a lot. And I recently took up painting because I got a little watercolor paint set from my parents.
Travel in the world, that's first thing. And you can go really good golf course to play. And you can meet lots of person and lots of fans out there.
I love sports, so when I'm not playing golf, I like watching sports or playing sports, being outside, going for a nice walk. I like nature and I like being outside, so that's what I like to do when I'm not playing golf.
Oh, when I'm home, I enjoy my family, enjoy my friends. I have 3 dogs, so love the animals. And I'm just very competitive. Love to play ping pong. Anything else that anybody can bring to the table, I'm game for it.
As amazing as they are, it's nice to know that off the golf course, they're much the same as you and me.
Making these players both talented and relatable.
Eva and Alan, Palos Verdes, California, Eagle News, we live in extraordinary times.
The National Association of Broadcasters is celebrating its 100th year. Let's find out how this year's NAB show is looking to the future. Anna Kui reports.
NAB Show 2023 marks its centennial year, and organizers highlights its history with this timeline display right behind me. The NAB Show was first held at the Commodore Hotel in New York in 1923. It first came to Las Vegas in 1975 and became its annual host in 1991. According to NAB officials, the show's 100th show anniversary allows NAB to not only reflect on the past, but also to figure out how to help industry members in the future. And innovation and service to local communities is key. Although competition for users and revenue dollars is fierce with tech giants such as Amazon Prime and Spotify, NAB CEO Legeet says broadcast is unique in that it covers news at the street level. The pandemic is behind us, but no doubt did it leave behind lessons learned from the challenges it came with. It was a reminder of the great role local broadcasters play in the communities and how quickly they were able to pivot to continue to deliver news through remote broadcast productions.
We invented our first box during the pandemic as a way to continue filming. So we have figured out how to remotely control lights, cameras, microphones, everything you need for a shoot over the internet.
There was a strong demand from the marketplace for an all-in-one box. People were using every kind of solution you can think of, from multiple iPhones to putting laptops up on crates. But there are some productions where you do not want to compromise on quality, right? Where the webcam look or the iPhone look isn't what you're looking for in a top flight production. And that's where the ability to use a real camera, 1080i or 4K broadcast quality PTZ camera comes in.
But now the challenge continues with the popularity of AI technology and the concern of some that it will make certain jobs in the broadcast industry obsolete. Industry experts say AI technology is still emerging and it will take time to reach the level of accuracy that the broadcast industry needs and requires. In Las Vegas, Anna Kui, Eagle News, we live in extraordinary times.
Before we let you go, here's our awesome photo of the week. This is an image of the Thurston lava tube in Hawaii, taken by Mylene Cusio. It is one of many such tubes on the islands and was created by a river of molten lava. It's just beautiful. Thank you all for joining us again. If there are stories or topics you want us to share with you, just comment below. View, like, share our other shows. City Limits with Alan Basolyahe. Connected with Dr. David. Take a seat and join us with Anna Kui. Plate Date with Mike Hudson and friends. Plus, Journey, Stories of Filipinos Abroad with Kathleen Cruz. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at Eagle News Live. I am EJ Gonzalez. We live in extraordinary times. Happy weekend, everyone.